Republican Wesley Hunt is one of the nearly 80 new House members in the 118th Congress, and one of the few to represent a new congressional district, the 38th in Texas. He's a veteran and West Point grad who told C-SPAN about how his military service and his upbringing influenced his conservative politics.
I came from a very conservative home. My dad's a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army. My sister's a West Point grad. My brother's a West Point grad. I'm a West Point grad. There's about 60 years worth of military service just in my immediate family, and you really only get 3 West Pointers in one house if you have a pretty conservative home. And so it's a values-based background that I grew up in. Grew up in a Southern Baptist church in the suburbs of Houston, Texas. And that's just kind of what guided my life and what really kind of pushed me more toward the conservative side, more toward the Republican side of politics.
How would you summarize your family's Republican philosophy?
We had a Jesus and a God first type mentality. My parents are strong believers. We went to church twice a week, so it basically stems just from the Bible. And those teachings of Jesus and what those conservative values mean, love thy neighbor as thyself, treat others with respect, the golden rule, that's kind of the philosophy that guided it throughout my entire life. And my dad, being the colonel that he was, he had a whiteboard in our house. And written on that whiteboard were, of course, all the chores, make your bed, do the dishes, clean your room, all that kind of stuff. But on top of that board said, Jesus plus education equals success. And so because of that, 3 West Point graduates, we all had master's degrees. My sister got her master's degree in applied mathematics. My brother went to Harvard Business School. I earned 3 master's degrees in 4 years from Cornell. And we did all these things because that was just the way our parents raised us.
Did you ever resist any of this?
You could try, but
that wasn't happening.
This wasn't an option.
Yeah.
We live in a democracy in this country, but my house was not a democracy. And I thank God that it wasn't, because my parents kind of taught us that this is the greatest country in the world. You should always try your best to find ways to serve, and that's why there's 60 years of service in my family. That's the thing that I'm most proud of, is the idea of being willing to sacrifice our lives and our livelihood for our fellow Americans and for the Constitution. Every generation, somebody must do that, and my dad and my mom instilled that in all of us.
Describe your military career.
Oh yeah, so out of high school, went to West Point, class of 2004. One fun fact about my class is there are 3 of us actually now serving in the halls of Congress as freshmen. Me, John James, Pat Ryan, all from the same class. I think that might be a record of a sort. But after my time at West Point, went to Fort Rucker, Alabama, learned how to fly the Apache helicopter, deployed to Iraq right after that, 55 combat air missions in Baghdad, also did 2 tours of duty in Saudi Arabia as a diplomatic liaison officer. And it was those formative years that really taught me the importance of how good we have it in this country. On our worst day, this place is as good as it gets.
When you see your former West Point classmates in the halls of Congress, is there something that you say to each other, or greet? How do you greet each other?
Of course.
What is it?
Beat Navy. This is the thing. For us to be able to think back to those days now, coming up on our 20-year reunion, which is just unbelievable, to know that we shared that time at West Point, and also to know that we all deployed together. In fact, John James's unit was the Apache unit that replaced us in Baghdad back in 2006. So to have that camaraderie, to understand that we are the ones that are willing to die for this country because we deployed forward together, it just means a lot. And even though 2 of us are Republicans and 1's a Democrat, I can tell you that we could find ways to work together because we are meeting at a place of mutual respect, and I think we need more of that in Congress.
How are you applying your military career to how you run your office or how you conduct yourself as a member of Congress?
Every day, my team gets up and we figure out how can we make a difference every single day. Same thing whenever we're deployed forward. As a platoon leader, as a commander, you wake up in the morning, you say, what can we do to win the battle for today, and how can we continue to save the lives of our fellow comrades? It's that same mentality that I think we take as a team, and I got a few military guys on my team, very young, vibrant, smart, just forward-thinking young people that work for us that I think embody that warrior ethos of what are we going to do today to make a difference and to win the battle, so ultimately we win the war.
Your name made headlines at the beginning of this Congress, and your wife as well. You missed the 12th and 13th round of voting for Speaker of the House. For those that think your name sounds familiar, explain what happened.
So I have a now 3-week-old little boy. He was born a few weeks early, so he was in a NICU for a couple of weeks, and I flew home after the 11th and 12th vote because I just kind of wanted to be with him. I had not seen him in my home yet. And then also, my wife had a bit of a small medical issue as well, so she had to be readmitted briefly. And so flew home for that. And then that was about the time where Leader McCarthy got about a 14-vote pickup at that noon vote. And we were watching with my family and my wife, and she's a trooper. And she looked at me and she goes, you know, it's looking like you may have to fly back tonight if necessary. And then shortly after that, I got a few text messages. So hopped on a plane that evening, flew back, was able to make that vote. And I was back in Houston 6 a.m. on Saturday morning because my wife was like, you can go, but you better get back as soon as possible.
Yep.
But what's interesting about that is, the motto at West Point is duty, honor, country. Duty. It's my duty, it's my job. 800,000 people that live in my district elected me to do my job. And I know family is the most important thing to me. My little girl is my little boy, and my wife are the most important thing to me. But also I have a job to do, and it was an absolute honor to be able to come back and cast that vote.
How is the family doing?
They are doing fantastic. Everybody is home. Thank God for mother-in-laws. So my wife is originally from Iowa. Her mother-in-law flew down from Iowa for the next 2 weeks. We have a very busy 2 weeks coming up here. So she's there now, and everyone is doing perfectly well, thank God. I think that my little boy was the most prayed after little boy for 48 hours in America. So I really attest a lot of that to how well he's doing right now.